Hello, YouTube. This is Insane Monster, and we are here for part 7 of What If Deku Had Anti-Venom. Now then, if you remember from the ending of last part, All Might met up with Izuku and Toga, who did get their desired results from their training from Gran Torino during their internship. With that being said, this is the Island episode or movie part thing. So, yeah. Now, before anything else, before the what if starts, hit it. Now then, as we get back to where we left off, All Might asked Izuku if he remembered what he won it when he, won the fight with during the UA Sports Festival. He thought for a moment and then realized that he won a trip for him and a guest to go to Island. When he stated that, All Might looked at him smirking, stating yes. And I'm going there as well. I have some business there, and I'm allowed to bring a guest of my own. We'll be meeting him at the airport, which I am able to get permission to bring you two along, since you two are coming from Izuku winning. Toga is excited as he can't wait to get there. So yeah, they meet up at the airport with everything packed as when they see All Might, right next to him was Mirio. As Izuku and Mirio met up, Izuku asked how is he doing with Riot at the moment. With Riot coming out of Mirio, he states, "This host is quite acceptable. Not just mentally strong, physically as well. His skill with his quirk is incredible." With Mirio stating, "Yeah, but it is kind of odd having something share a, my body with me. It's kind of gonna need to get some used to, at least, as they do go on the plane and fly." As Izuku asked what his business was at Island was, All Might gets a bit of a serious face as he states, "There's a friend of mine who does check-ups on me. Ever since I was, uh, for a while now, I've gone to a friend of mine that's done checkups on me. You may know him as David Sealed." As Izuku is getting excited since David Sealed is the one who made his Bronze, Silver, and Golden Age hero costume for All Might. As All Might also stated that, "And from what I've been told, a number of your classmates were also able to come due to various connections and reasons." With this being surprising, Toga asked, "Really? Well, I'm guessing a number of our symbiote friends are coming along as well, huh?" As he answered yes, and due to this, I'd rather Izuku did stay alert. Causing a pause, Izuku asked, "What do you mean?" As he begins to explain the other reason he's going to Island. It seems that David Sealed has had possession of a symbiote for a while, though this symbiote has been contained in a capsule. and has only been run tests on it using mice, rabbits, and the like. All of them were unnerving, to say the least. Unlike the symbiote you partnered with, this one seems to automatically devour its host from the inside out. As anti-venom comes out of Izuku, revealing his head, asking, "Tell me, what color does he have?" All Might states that David told me that the symbiote is primarily black with white as a secondary color. Does that ring any bells? As Riot chimes in along with tox- toxin popping out of Toga. Riot states that does sound familiar, and honestly, it's very unnerving to know that he's around. All Might asked, "Wait, do you know this one?" As Toxin states, "Yes, his name is Zek, though he is an unusual symbiote. He has a habit of devouring his hosts from the inside out. In all honesty, compared to other symbiotes, it would be more accurate to consider him a complete parasite. We are symbiotic with our hosts. However, he doesn't work that way. The moment he bonds to a host, he eats them from the inside out until they're no more use to him. With that being where we find ourselves could be troublesome. If he were to find himself a human host, he would gain a form of their quirk, meaning that after he's done devouring them, he'd go to a new one and constantly get stronger depending on which kind of host he gets. It's rather unnerving to know that he's out there. But if he's contained, it should be fine. I hope. As All Might is worried now. This symbiote does not seem like one that can be reasoned with like many of the others. Though he then chimes in stating, "Yes, but knowing how to properly remove a symbiote safely from an individual will go a long ways in fighting the League. According to what we've been told by Venom, the League currently has access to not only Carnage, but two other symbiotes. Depending on who their hosts will end up being, including what powers they'll have, it is unnerving. And from what the other ones say, there are still a few out there that are uncounted for. That in itself is a problem. As Anti-Venom states, true. Though with me, I could outright destroy other symbiotes if I so wished. So there's that. And I am assuming that's why you asked me to be on guard along with Izuku, correct? All Might shook his head in agreement, stating, "Yes. If this symbiote ends up getting out of hand due to sensing others of his kind, I would prefer it if you would deal with him. Honestly, after what you've told me about him, I don't think there would be any other way to deal with this besides that. For all, if he ends up breaking out once, he'll most likely try to break out again. And I'd rather something that would act like a beast devouring people from the inside and would continuously get stronger due to jumping from host to host. I would much prefer it be dealt with permanently than just letting it live under the threat of escaping. It might be blunt, especially the use. Uh, hang on, I believe you're race is called Clintar. I heard that from Venom, but he had a odd look on him when he said it. Either way, I would prefer that this Zex, you called it, would be destroyed if he gets too out of hand. I hope this isn't too much to ask of you. Anti-venom states that not much. After all, he's been somewhat of a problem to begin with. Even even before we came to this world. So I don't find much issue in it due to your reasoning. If he gets out of hand, I'll deal with him. After that, All Might gestured to look out the window, where Toga, Toxin, Zuko, Anti-Venom, Mirio, and Riot looked out, seeing Island. As they were impressed about the floating city, and as All Might tells them to suit up. They do suit up, though for Izuku and Toga, they just need their symbiotes for that, and Mirio as well. Since Riot has already eaten his hero costume, he's able to mimic it now, and even add its features to the suit he makes. As Izuku remarks how awesome he looks, with Mirio smirking, stating, "Thank you," and Riot stating, You wouldn't be able to change as fast if it wasn't for me. Plus, with me, you don't have to keep losing your pants." Which causes Toga to be like, uh, wait, what? As Riot just states, his quirk is polymerization. Everything just phases right through him, and he phases through them. Could be the floor, walls, even whatever he's wearing. So he needed special clothing. Though, with me, no longer necessary. As Mirio scratched his head, stating, Yeah, this is one of the perks of having a symbiote, I guess, huh? As they land, obviously there are a bunch of people just excited to have All Might there, though they are able to get away from the paparazzi a lot easier, seeing all the heroes able to use their quirks and such freely here. As All Might did remind them that they do have the thing on this island, unlike in Japan, that they are free to use their quirks here, which did get them excited. Afterwards, we see Melissa Sealed that comes bouncing in on her pogo stick thing, jumping towards All Might, giving him a hug. After a bit of a silence and Melissa and All Might talking, All Might introduced Toga Himiko, Agent Toxin, Izuku Midoriya, Agent Anti-Venom, and we also have Lemillion Mirio Togota, as Melissa introduced herself as Melissa Sealed, finding it interesting about their suits, stating, these symbiote things are amazing, surprising Izuku and the others. He reveals his face, asking, Wait, you know about them? He smirks, stating, Yeah, I've actually been helping my dad research the one we have here. It seems pretty violent, though yours seem really calm. As the symbiotes emerged, introducing themselves as Toxin, Anti-Venom, and Riot, and stating that that one has always been trouble. As he thinks, figuring that the one they have is probably more like a villain version of their kind rather than the ones that are bonded to the heroes like them. As All Might remarks that he'd like to talk to David, and she goes ahead and brings them to where David is doing his work. Which, when All Might comes in, he hugs David, yet stating that it's been a while. With David and All Might reuniting, David is introduced to Mirio, Toga, and Izuku, as he finds it interesting about their symbiote, especially the fact that they seem to be able to mimic items that they've taken into themselves, not limited to just armor but weaponry as well. Though he thinks for a moment and asks Melissa to show them around the island and such. As they leave, he tells All Might that he can drop the form, as he states, "Don't worry, I'm able to hold it a lot better than usual." As he lifts up his shirt, revealing his wound is gone. He checks it in astonishment. He asks, "How?" All Might stated it was actually young Izuku Midoriya. His symbiote has a unique ability. Apparently, different symbiotes will have abilities that are unique among their own kind, or at least in a higher class. For Izuku, as you might have guessed from his symbiote's name, anti-venom, his rated asset is his healing ability. With it, he was able to regenerate all of my damaged organs. It was incredible. As David was astonished, he smirked, stating, "It's just great. You can be a hero all the time now, right?" As All Might frowned a little bit, stating, "Not exactly." As they went ahead doing the scan on him, he saw that the data. He figured that if All Might was ever healed, his power would return back to normal, but it's still been declining. As David asked, "What is this?" All Might sat up in the skinny form, stating, "You can think of it as just old age. Over the years, I've been beaten, battered quite a bit. Even with my organs healed up, I'm not getting any younger. It's just the human condition. As we get older, we end up getting weaker. After all, David, you should you know as well as everybody else, no one can live forever. No one can be as strong as they were in their prime forever." As David looks down, clenching his fist, thinking, I thought if he was healed, would have gotten his power back. All Might hadn't told him about One for All, just like in canon, so yeah. But this All Might states it's fine. After all, this new generation is proving to be quite promising. All we have to do is make sure that they can withstand the duties as heroes. Not only that, you also have to figure that it was going to happen sooner or later. At least now I can prepare the future of heroes to pick up where I left off. As David had a smirk on his face, he stated, "Yeah, I see that." All Might went out to go get his hero suit back on, as David made a call, telling somebody called Wolfring that the jaw was off. Though after he hung up, a man wearing a mask who was Wolfring. Sorry if I say it wrong. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, since it's the name seems to be a combination of the word wolf and ram. So yeah, as he states, looks like he said it's off. As he smirks, stating, "Yeah, right," brushing the phone. As we get to Izuku, Toga, Mirio, and Melissa walking around as he shows them everything. If I'm not mistaken, she shows them the expo on all the technology that they build there, stating that Island is probably the most advanced facility for technology, with constant individuals of different sciences working in order to develop the future of technology, seeing all kinds of incredible things. Afterwards, we see Ochako, Momo, and Jiro showing up, asking what they're doing. With Toga hugging them, she states that this is Melissa's shield and she was actually showing us around. He hits the ride with All Might since he was coming here anyways. As they introduce themselves and got to know one another. After sitting down, they begin to talk. As Melissa stated, huh, yours look quite different as well, remarking to Jiro and Momo. With Toga stating, it's okay, you guys, she knows. Apparently, they have one here they're researching. As Momo and Jiro release their mask, and Mania and Sleeper go face to face with uh, Melissa, introducing themselves and asking about the symbiote they got here, though Riot cuts off the answer saying it's Zerk's. Mania and Sleeper kind of make a disgust noise, going like, ugh, that thing? With Melissa being confused. After filling her in, she gets a little worried, stating, oh, then maybe we should have better security on that thing. It's that dangerous. It'd be bad if it got loose here of all places, especially with all these heroes. If I'm not mistaken from the reports, after a symbiote bonds to a person, they gain the abilities of that person as a type of collective, gaining stronger after each host they bond to, right? As anti-venom stated, yes, essentially. You can think of it as genetic memories. Though, every now and then, a symbiote might need to be purged of their mental influence from past hosts. Or should I say, a mental imprint. As he asked more about this, Antivenom stated that when the symbiote bonds to someone, if they have a power, they just don't make a copy of that power to suit them. They also happen to have a portion of their psyche imprinted on the symbiote, which can cause a shift in that symbiote's behavior and mannerisms, all depending on the one that they bond to. However, mental conditions from the imprint can actually be taken care of with something that the symbiotes call the purge. As he then asked about the symbiote's race being called Clintar, as that knowledge got to them as well for their research. They looked at one another and told them, Clintar is not actually our race's name, said Riot. As he continued, Clintar is actually it's actually our word for cage. In fact, our entire planet is just a giant cluster of symbiotes used as a cage to seal something or someone up. As he becomes intrigued, along with the others wondering about this, he asked, "What are they locking up?" They, as Anti-Venom chimed in on this, stating, "It's the one that created our race, a Celestial. You might not think much about them here, but Celestials are beings or that could be considered gods by many races. In many cases, they actually have the ability to create entire worlds and even populate them with species that they make themselves. The one that made us was known as Null. Not very pleasant from the what I've learned, especially when you consider he was using us as a means of conquering the universe. But someone intervened and caused a ray of light to shine through our collective minds due to Null using us as a hive mind. Though after that light shined through our entire species, a revolt happened and Null was sealed up. Essentially, our home planet is just a giant mass of symbiotes, and they're all being used for all these centuries as a way to seal up Null. If he ever got out, it would be trouble. First thing he'd do if he had the access to a symbiote is try to use it to create the Null Dragon. Effectively, it's just a cluster of symbiotes that take the form of a dragon. After it forms, it would go and release Null. And things just go downhill from there if that ever happened. That Melissa was taking notes on all this, finding it fascinating that the symbiotes were actually created, and after being freed from the hive mind, went ahead and locked up the one that created them. Just finding this incredibly fascinating. As Toxin then remarks about the individual symbiotes that go around helping people as a somewhat galactic force. If you're wondering about this kind of symbiote thing, there is a series of Venom where him and Eddie effectively just become like space cops or whatever you want to refer it to as. As Momo was interested in this, that there was an actual symbiote police force kind of thing in space. Though this didn't last long as they were interrupted by Ida, Hiroshima, and Mineta revealing that they were working there for at the moment and getting along, introducing Melissa to them. Though as Mineta was about to be a creep, the females who had symbiotes had their tendrils lash him a bit. As he states, okay, okay, I get it. Afterwards, they then just hear a giant explosion. When they go and see what's going on, Melissa tells them that this is actually a friendly competition, explaining that the rules are simple. They have to destroy all the robots in this battle area before in a time limit, or they track how much time it takes them to win. And the one with the shortest amount of time is the winner and such. As Bakugo just finished up, he then jumps over to the railing, yelling at them, asking what they're doing here. As Izuku states, it was the prize for winning the sports festival, man. With Toga getting into Bakugo's face, asking, oh, and what are you doing here, huh? As it's now Todoroki's turn, and he just freezes all the robots, pissing Bakugo off because he finished in a shorter time frame. As he jumps down, stating that he's gonna go again. Hiroshima shows up, remarking that this is actually something we got invited to by Todoroki. And he remarks that he tried his hand at it, and I think I did a pretty good job. As now Izuku, Toga, and Mirio wants to try it out. They do rock, paper, scissors to see who's going first. as Mirio is the winner of this. And now, as he gets on the field and gets ready, once it goes off for him to go, he sinks into the ground, though not very far considering they're on a floating island, and shoots out, sending himself up into the air once he releases his power, as Riot releases just a storm ablaze, piercing the robots, destroying them, with a pretty impressive score of 5 seconds. Next was Toga, as he prepared with the siren going off for her to go. She makes blade tendrils and lunges at the robots, taking them down one after another, getting at about, let's say, 6 seconds, as he remarks, "Man, how did we lose?" Toxin stated, "It's because Riot is more effective with sending parts of himself out as projectiles, rather than just extending them as tendrils to attack. Though obviously he has the advantage in the much more long-range effort." As he just sighs, remarking, "Oh man." Afterwards, it became Izuku's turn, as he powered up, getting ready. Before it sound off, anti-venom stated, "Izuku, it feels something odd. Something has changed, and I think we're about to see what." Though Izuku didn't get to ask him what he meant, as the siren went off, Izuku just jolted towards the robots, taking them out one after another. As he got to one going to punch it, some red electricity enveloped his arm as he struck it with a powerful fist that just not only destroyed his head, but that completely sorted out its entire system. As he continued making this, when you consider one for all speed boost that he gains from this, as well as better controlling his power, that he made it in about 3 seconds, 0.5 milliseconds. As Bakugo was furious, demanding to go again. As everything was going pretty smooth, Melissa stated that she had to go now, and that she'll hopefully see them at the banquet. Remarking that they do know about the banquet, yes? They stated, "Yeah, we know." Afterwards, they do go to where they're staying and get a good shower and get dressed. Izuku still wears the same as in canon. Mirio goes ahead and wears a black suit with a yellow undershirt and white tie, going somewhat reverse than what would be normal. And Toga goes for a somewhat flowing red dress. As they head out, Izuku remarks that she looks beautiful, and wonders where she got her dress, as Toxin pops out stating, "Oh, I just made it." As Izuku realizes that Toga's outfit is actually just Toxin using his superior shape-shifting ability to make Toga a very nice dress. As he blushes a bit and states, "You don't say." As Toga grabs onto his arm, stating, "Yep, and I have to admit, Toxin, you do better than any tailor that I can imagine." With Toxin taking this compliment in stride. With, "Of course, I can control every seam of this outfit, so of course it's gonna be perfect." With Muriel laughing at this, stating, "Ah, well, at least you can take a compliment well, I suppose." As they meet up with their friends and go in, it's revealed that the villains are taking over the island, hacking into the place. Although David Seal called them off, they're still going with their plan. As they do take David and his assistant with him. All Might is strapped down by binds. As they notice that something wrong, they take a look and find that the heroes are all just captured. As for getting in contact with All Might, Zero with using Mania in order to manipulate the briar-like function that can be made by Mania to dig through the concrete of the building, opening up a little hole in the floor near All Might's head, then turning the end of this briar into a earbud, which Jiro has taken in a number of audio devices into her symbiote to possibly help with her quirk, especially in this instance. As for their end, he creates a mic or a speaker kind of thing that with a mic so that they can talk back and forth. With this, All Might relays what's going on and that they took David, though that they should be careful. This could end very badly, and that they should lay low. But then Melissa brings up about the symbiote. If they're taking them to the vault, then that's where the symbiote is as well. If they cause damage to it, then it could break out. This was not ideal. So he makes a decision, stating, alright, if something goes wrong, I'll take full responsibility. However, in this situation, we can't let that happen. Whatever they're after might not be the symbiote, but if they get their hands on it, and if the symbiote breaks out, either way, it won't be good. So, if you try to do what you can, but try to stay out of fighting. Understand? As they agree with All Might, begin to go. They already realize that they're not gonna be moving as fast as they would like, considering most of the way that they have to go is blocked off at various points. So they have to get through it bit by bit. As Todoroki states, because he is with them in this, that hopefully that symbiote they got there doesn't bond to anybody. If it does, there's no telling what might happen. As Izuku states, you don't know the half of it. The one they have here is incredibly dangerous. Like next level. Especially to its own host. As he does not find that as a very good thing. Like that is probably the worst kind of thing that he could hear right now. As like in canon, they do somewhat trigger an alarm because somebody thought it was a good idea to use a door that would alert them after they ran into a block in the stairway. Of course, after this point, and staring down Mineta for being an idiot, they got no choice but to keep going. As they get to like the garden area of the tower, they go for cover as two of the villains are sent in order to find out what's going on. As they're worried about what they'd have to do if they catch them. Best case scenario, they had to knock them out and web them up. Worst case, the fight can turn ugly, especially since they don't know what their quirks are. As obviously Kirishima and Bakugo showed up because Kirishima was leading them and was completely lost. Com- Overall, overshooting where they were supposed to go for the banquet. As this happens, the villain goes right off and attacks them, with it being blocked by Todoroki's ice. He tells the others to hurry up and get going, as they don't have time to argue about this. They hurry up, as Todoroki creates an ice pillar to get them to the little catwalk above the garden area. After they find that the door is locked, they figured they had two choices: have the symbiotes rip it open or open it another way, as Melissa points out the vent, stating that they would have to have somebody small enough to get there. Looking at Mineta, as he is hesitant but is convinced by the girls, especially by Toga giving him a very scary look, instantly climbing it in order to open the door. As they hurry up, they now have to deal with robots, especially in the little power room that when Denki tried to fry it, he was asked not to, since the electrical devices here could cause more damage to the entire island than the villains and these robots would. With that being stated, this time we have Jiro popping up with Mania, completely suited up and using the sound devices she took into her symbiote to form speakers on her body and over her hands, using her earphone jack ability to send controlled sound waves at the robots, blasting them away and causing damage to their hardware. Using this time to get through. As they run and enter into the area where the main computer brain is, Denki is even further asked not to go shocking people, as Momo creates a metal pole, telling Denki that he can electrify that and hit the robots with it, as a ton of them come in. With this, Sleeper pops out stating that they don't have time for these distractions, stating that a number of them should stay back and hold off these things while the others get to where they took Mr. Shield. As Izuku agrees with this sentiment and that they had to hurry. So, like in canon, we have Momo, Denki, uh, Mineta, and also, Ida fighting off the robots, as Hiroshima, Bakugo, and Todoroki have dealt with the villains, same as in canon, and are hurrying up. As they get to the point where they have to now do some climbing, they shoot up with their symbiotes. As Toga grabbed onto Melissa and Ochako, as Mirio, Izuku also suited up and started climbing, using their spider abilities to get up there as fast as possible, even using webs to swing to the way. Getting to where they needed, they were able to get in. As Toxin puts them down, he pops out of Toga's shoulder, telling them, "You two should stay back. We don't know what these villains can do, so we should probably focus on this." The sword guy from the movie, seeing some recordings of their abilities and what they've been doing, knew that he couldn't take them on alone, so hurried up to where his boss was, filling him in. As Izuku, Mirio, and Toga burst into the vault room, we see the villain getting what he wants. After ever after all this, Melissa asked, "What is that?" And David states what he took, as David's assistant ends up getting shot, with the villain stating, "It was real nice of you to give us the opportunity to take this. Honestly, using your good intentions to help a friend in order to get this gem was really something." As Izuku and Toga knew what they were talking about, thinking that David most likely knew that All Might was in a weakened state. And with the device he just took to amplify quirks, this could be very bad. As they go after the the villain, Wolfram, Mirio went over to grab David. As the villain begins using his magnetic powers to attack Izuku and Toga, with Mirio evading using his tendrils and such to carry David's shield out of harm's way as well as evade his attacks. Though Izuku and Toga were eventually pinned against the wall, as all of this caused multiple cracks in various areas of the vault, as one of them did have Zerks in it. Leaking out, he went towards the one who was causing such destruction, latching onto him, as he figured out what he just took, he forced him to open the case and put it on. Though what he didn't expect was that this massive influx of power into his quirk would allow him to restrain Zerks as a way of keeping Zerks from devouring him. As Wolfram looked at his hands and stated, "Oh, I didn't know you had two gems like this. But the second one seems to have a bit of an attitude. Maybe I could beat that out of this one eventually. Though, thanks for everything." As he just does a little gesture saying goodbye, we see the Blade dude running out of there to get to the helicopter. As Wolford just goes straight through the roof, tearing it open using his power. Izuku and Toga break free as Melissa hurries up and hacks into the database of their facility in order to free the heroes as they take out the villains with the guns where they were being held, with All Might hurrying up in order to help them. With this, Wolfram felt incredible, going into the helicopter with the Blade guy coming as fast as he could towards it to not be left behind. He is then shot up with some webbing, being pinned down to the ground. As he smirks, stepping down, thinking, these people, they seem to have similar abilities to this thing. Interesting. Perhaps I should test out my new power. As he begins using his power to attack, we see Mirio and Riot firing off blades, trying to hit him in order to use Stain's power that Riot now has to paralyze him. But he's defending himself too well. As Toga is trying to get in close, trying to slice him up a bit, but yet again gets smacked away. As this continues, we see Melissa sewing up and grabs something that she thought would be useful, tossing it to Midoriya as he states, I saw the sports festival. You can't properly handle your own power at full strength, right? This should help. As he took a look at the bracelet and absorbed it into his symbiote, a type of wrapping began to form around his forearms and fists on both hands, with anti-venom stating, yes, this could solve our problem. As he clenched his fist, he used full power and broke a giant chunk out of the metal Wolfram was using to attack them, as All Might showed up just in time, stating, this is getting way out of hand. What's happening? As Izuku fills him in that the villain now has a device amplifying his quirk as well as Zerk's bonded to him. And apparently his amplified power is helping him from getting devoured from the inside out by Zerk's. With All Might clenching his fist, stating, alright, then let's take him out. As he then states, look, something's also happened, and I think I can remove Zerx without killing him. But while removing him, you got to remove that thing from his head. All Might agrees, as he then states, well then, we should bust through his defenses first, shouldn't we? As they charge to Wolfram, breaking through his metal, just coming at them one after another until they get to a point where they're close enough for all out smash, just blowing him away. As Izuku uses this chance to web onto Wolfram, pulling him towards him, and then using anti-venom as well as the new electrical power that he just showed to shock Wolfram and to get Zerx out of him. After extracting, they just began and decided to destroy Zerx. It was too dangerous to leave him here to begin with, and now they had no choice. As this went on, All Might quickly yanked the device off of Wolfram, giving him a nice punch back down to the helipad. As they landed, Izuku just kept panting in exhaustion. The fight was hard enough as it was, but destroying Zerx also took a good toll out of them. Since that anti-venom came out stating that was tough, though I think we might have gotten something from that. As anti-venom formed a small hand and showed that he could bend some metal. Izuku stated, that's cool, but let's leave that for another time, as he just plops on the ground. With David showing up, he explains everything to All Might, and Might was happy that his friend thought of him and so much that he would make such a device to help him, but was saddened that he went so far, tried to take it back. Though Sealed mentioned that he did try to call it off after what he told him earlier. As looking at Izuku being held by Toga, worried about him, Izuku just smirks as David states, but I see what you meant. I think the future is in good hands. As this is taken care of and everything, the villains are locked up and sent off. They did keep quiet on David's part on this just to help out a friend. And they say goodbye to Island. As they fly away, All Might does ask some things that he heard, like that electrical ability that they showed. Anti-venom popped out and began to tell him, well, that seems to be ability that that was amplified from the quirk scene. Since Mirio's there and he doesn't know about One for All, yeah, he's wording it that way, stating that the quirk gene seems to have amplified his spider abilities that he gained whenever he was spawned to a point where it's actually beginning to produce bioelectricity. After all, some spiders produce it as a means of paralyzing their prey. Though I've also seen to it gain that quirk that Wolfram person had after I destroyed Zerx. Somewhat of a genetic memory transfer. It will be useful, but what I'm most glad about is this new brace that Melissa person seemed to have thought of giving us. It was quite useful, and I'm sure it will continue being useful, as Izuku reveals that he can still produce it. Since it's part of the symbiote now, he can repair it if it gets damaged. So yeah, this is going to be pretty useful for Izuku. Now then, with that being said, Izuku states, well, I'd have to say this was a productive visit, although chaotic, huh? With Mirio stating, yeah, as Toga leans on Izuku stating, but it was pretty fun, with a big grin on her face. And Izuku states, of course it was. Chaotic, but wasn't boring, huh? As Toga laughs. With this, we will end this at this part of the what if right now. In the next part, we will get to where we start off with their examination after their internship. With all this said, I do hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell, and I will see you later. Which does remind me, the winner of the What If Lotto has picked a What If, and the What If happens to be a What If I have a thumbnail for, but no parts, meaning that it will gain 2 parts in order to make a proper playlist. As for the What If in question, I'm just gonna let you guys kind of wait in anticipation for it, but it's gonna be good. But with all that said, like I stated, do hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.